Welcome back to Football Guru's show. I'm Curtis. We're back. Steve's back this week. He missed us last week, but he's back after a little hiatus. Sunday night out with the lads. We got Anthony, yet again, another happy gooner. Arsenal getting a good
Can't complain. Top of the league as we go.
But this week we are going to focus on Chelsea to start with. Um, they've had a little bit of a resurgence under Graham Potter. Some of their players are starting to play well again. Mason Mount's looking good. They're looking defensively solid. And they're playing some decent football as well, to be fair to them. Obviously, Graham Potter's been one of their managers that's been a young manager for a while, done really well at Brighton, and just in general has been held in quite high regard with the way that his teams have played their football. But some people maybe thought that the Chelsea job was too big for him. But, Steve, I'll throw it to you first. What do you think of the job that Graham Potter has done at Chelsea so far? And do you think it's a case of just a typical Chelsea new manager bounce? Or has he really got Chelsea playing in a way that could see them be successful for a period of time?
That's a tricky question. I think there's definitely a new manager bounce. Potter looks like a good manager, but you just never know with Chelsea. As soon as they hit a rocky patch or some of their players start to misbehave, things can go south very quickly. I do think that he's shown by what he did, especially at Brighton, that he can, form a team. I love the fact that he's giving his, talented English players more of a shout. He seems quite ruthless because they spent all that money on Cucurella. He started him in, I think, today's game and didn't hesitate to pull him off. So, he don't mess about. But there's a couple of takeaways that I'll come to when you've all had your say, because there's things to look out for with this Chelsea situation.
How about you, Anthony? What do you think? Graham Potter under Chelsea? Serious or just another Chelsea manager bounce?
Well, I agree with that. He's definitely had a manager bounce, but I'll be completely honest with you. At the beginning of the season, or pre-season, I should say, I was going off on all these Chelsea fans saying that they're finished, their time in the spotlight is done. They're not going to finish Champions League. On. I may have to take back my words and humble myself because I really do like Graham Potter. And he is a good manager. He's got them playing good football and winning games, keeping clean sheets. It's all the good signs that you can look for in a manager. And although I believe that this form that they have right now won't be sustainable at this moment in time, I do think that they've got a good manager on their hands, and you can see, or what Chelsea fans have been telling me is that their club is starting to try and move into a newer direction. Like usually before under Abramovich, you'd see a lot of managers come in under 2-3 year contracts, just so he's got that wiggle room to get rid of them when things start going south. But they've given Graham Potter a 5 year contract. I'm sure that they believe in him and they're going to invest heavily in him. Hopefully, they back him with time and patience, and they'll back him with money. So it remains to be seen how good they'll be.
Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from with all of that. But I think I look at Chelsea's team at the moment. I don't think it's great on paper. I think there's one or two good players in there, some very solid, consistent players. But I don't think it's a squad that's really going to trouble the upper echelons of the Champions League or the Premier League, right? So the way I see it this season is they'll have a decent building season, but then by the time next season comes around, like by the end of the season, they're not going to have that much to show for it, right? Then
Yeah,
really all the pressure is on his second season. And I'm just not convinced that he'll be able to close the gap quick enough to keep Chelsea fans and Chelsea ownership happy. Todd Bowley didn't give Tuchel much of a chance. So like, let's not like pretend that he's some really patient dude. Like he's obviously maybe not Abramovich level of trigger happy, but he clearly likes to, like he doesn't want to mess around.
Yeah.
On the flip side, I think it has to be said that Chelsea fans, they're not particularly patient either. They've been used to managers getting sacked every few seasons. So I think if Chelsea aren't at the level that they want them to be next season, then I think it might be tougher for Potter. But
I don't know, man, because I feel like Chelsea fans, if they see that their club is moving in the right direction and progressing, like let's say they have a shocking season this season, crash out in the quarterfinals of every cup stage, and just about scrape fourth. If next season they go on and make it to a final, maybe a semi-final, and solidify their place in fourth, playing better football, not looking so lackluster, hopefully maybe the squad gets younger, I'm sure the fans will give Graham Potter some time, because I know a lot of fans that started to get sick of that whole hiring and sacking of managers and not showing any loyalty to managers that win stuff. I know a lot of Chelsea fans are getting kind of sick of that.
I think what goes along with that, Anton,
I feel like they want to believe in Graham Potter, but he also does have to deliver.
He does. He could do with winning a trophy this year, any trophy.
Yeah, it'd be massive
because it's something they didn't manage to do yet.
Even next season.
And I think on top of what you're saying, Anton, which I think is correct, I would say a manager that is given their young, emerging talent a chance to operate within that team is going to get more time with the fans, just like they did for Frank Lampard. Well, and what Arsenal fans have done for Arteta to a degree, because I mean there was a lot of talk at the beginning of last season, about Arteta out. So
no one was saying Arteta. What? No, because no.
Oh, hang on, there we go.
Now. I was skeptical on Arteta last season, but I was never Arteta out. The words never came out.
I was the one telling you.
I was thinking
to trust the process.
No, you're right. But I was angry at the process at the time because we hadn't signed anywhere near enough players the season ahead coming around, and I thought it was the same old.
But financial restrictions.
I was frustrated. I was frustrated. No. I was just frustrated as a fan. But I've never not believed in the quality of Arteta as a manager.
All right, we'll take your word for it. Right, listen. There's a couple of things with regard to Chelsea that I've noticed over the start to this Potter regime. Number one, he's got to get more out of Sterling. He plays him, and he clearly sees him as an important player. But for me, Sterling is playing at 50 to 70%. They need to get more out of him. He needs to drive at opposition. And even though he's popping up all over the pitch, which is good for him, he needs to do more. And he had a couple of chances today, didn't bury them. All right, that can happen to anyone. But he needs to coax more out of Sterling. The other thing is they seem to be very heavily reliant on a 38-year-old centre-back. Excellent as he is. Going forward, they're going to have to look at some serious replacements, because as much as I like the fact that they signed Koulibaly, he just looks like a walking booking. This guy,
man. I didn't think he was that clumsy.
I didn't either. But he's so rugged and without finesse. I saw him today trying to do a couple of step overs and that. And he actually did a half decent job, but man, that guy, he doesn't know when to hold back, when to jockey a player. It's just blood and thunder, and
you would
he's
never
just a
believe he
walking
came
booking,
out of it,
and they need to have proper cover for him.
But you know what? And for the viewers who don't know, the Koulibaly on paper, in theory, is Dad's perfect type of centre half. Tall, strong, pretty rugged, quick in his heyday, real tough, physical type of centre half.
Absolutely.
But I think that your theory on your ideal centre half is a little bit, and what you thought Koulibaly was at
Little
Napoli
bit.
versus what he is now is clouding your judgment slightly of this guy. Because I've not spoken to one guy, Chelsea fan or otherwise, who has been impressed with Koulibaly's start to the season. I think he's just not looked good. Like, he's looked like a liability in that Chelsea defence, and he's not looked like a guy who the guy who everyone's based on reputation thought he would come in and really elevate that Chelsea defence. I don't really think he's doing that for them. Like, I don't think he's a guy. He's basically, he's not Rudiger. You know, like, he's not. He was meant to be a Rudiger replacement. He's not Rudiger, and I'm not sure if he can get to that level now at age 31.
Which is essentially what I'm saying. I'm saying that I don't know if I had that great expectations for him, but the guy just looks like a walking booking. Every time I see him, he looks like he's going to get booked at some point in the game. And if you keep doing that, every 5 games or so, you're going to get a ban. So, and they need to keep him on the pitch, you know, because he does offer that, you know, a bit of pace at the back and a bit of strength and whatever. They need some quality backup, I think. Obviously, some of it depends on what or how their manager wants them to play, you know, with 3 at the back, 4 at the back or whatever. But I've seen some chinks in this armour, and I don't find their football particularly exciting. Obviously, Mason Mount is playing really well. You know, Aubameyang has been decent, although he got hauled off today.
He won't last this season.
I would be surprised if he did. I wouldn't, you know. And then, I mean, Lukaku hasn't gone back to Inter and really shone. So they got a little bit of a problem. But, I'm sure we've all seen the rumours of them hunting around for another striker, and Kunku has been mentioned. So
I'm hearing that's done.
Then there you go. You know, good player.
And they're linked with that Leao guy from
Raphael.
No, going on to signings with Chelsea, actually, like, although it seems that they're investing in a lot of forward talent right now, I feel like the defence and the midfield are the much more pressing issue that they need to sort out. Like, the defence is very old, very slow, lacks a lot of legs in Conor Gallagher and Kovacic, who you would expect to start most games. And then again, you move into the back line, and as Dad said, you've got Thiago Silva, who's like 30, whatever, 38, 36, something like that. Koulibaly, who's probably over the hill as well. Azpilicueta, who, in my opinion, shouldn't still be at that club. So they're, as well as their defence needing to get younger, I feel like they do need to invest in a little bit more central midfield talent. Because going into a season with Jorginho, Conor Gallagher, Kovacic, and who else? Maybe like Havertz as yours, and Mount. Well, you'd consider Mount more as a forward than a central.
But he's a centre. I think he's a centre midfielder by trade. Like, obviously they do play him wide left sometimes. Yeah, I think they play him wide left a fair bit. But I think, even the way he plays, he's not like a Foden. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he's that level of that style of forward player. I think he'd be very comfortable in centre midfield. But
I think he could.
All right, so I'll give you a little take. I'm sure maybe you guys have heard this, but apparently Declan Rice has been offered a new contract, an 8-year deal by West Ham.
8 years.
And he's rejected
ridiculous,
it.
Man.
Does this mean that he's going, shall we say, home? Because didn't he start at Chelsea?
Yeah, he did.
No, the links have been there. But they've kind of gone quiet ever since
gone quiet since they found it might cost them 100 million.
Maybe
150.
And I wouldn't pay that.
Yeah.
He's a good player.
The thing is, they could actually get 100 million. Nice.
I think whilst it would be a good move for Chelsea, I don't think it's a needle mover, truth be told. I don't think that's an area in the pitch for them that you look at like, wow, they really need to strengthen that area badly. They still got Kante, even though he's injured. He's still a good player.
It's over the hill,
Yeah, but
man.
he's still good enough, man. Like I don't think he's. Yeah, like obviously
Yeah,
we've seen him play.
he's not reliable over the course of the whole
Yeah, but
season, and
I'm
that's really
just
what you want.
I'm not really convinced.
Chelsea's
I'm not
midfield.
convinced that
Yeah, they've
Chelsea
got
need
enough to
to.
cover that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
on Declan Rice's part, I don't really think it's the best move for him either. Like I
I
don't
agree with
see
you on that.
Chelsea like don't he'll go there and he'll win trophies and if
Maybe.
maybe, but I mean let's say he's there for a good 7-8 years, he'll win a couple trophies. So if you're looking at it purely from that point of view, then yeah, fine, like it will be a decent move. But I personally think that it's not going to be a club where he'll go down as like in the folklore of the club because I just think that they're so used to having all these players who come and play well for about 5 years and then they start to decline and then it doesn't always end particularly well. And they've already booted him out once already anyway. So do you know what? Cut your losses, go elsewhere, and
Stay at West Ham.
Where would he go though, or do you think he should just
Stay at West Ham and build a. There's no reason
Listen,
why West Ham
they're building
can't be as
something
big as
up.
Chelsea. Let me just say that. They've got
100%,
a bigger ground now,
Say it again, man.
right? They've got at least as many fans within the UK. I mean, I know Chelsea's a little bit more international. And
These
if
days,
they
yeah.
get the right manager, resources in the playing,
Amazing.
yeah, I do respect him. And investment in the playing squad, they can move forward. They can move forward. They probably need to break their duck. Like get a trophy from somewhere. This conference league could be a good springboard for them.
if they manage to win it.
For real.
But
Fingers crossed.
speaking of trophies and clubs winning trophies, obviously City are the perennial winners of trophies in the Premier League in the last few years. They played Liverpool and they got beaten 1-0 at Anfield. Very good game. I mean, at points it was 0-0 and it was like a really entertaining game. So 1-0 definitely should have been more goals in the game than that. But I'm obviously I don't think any of us are kind of looking at City now and thinking that they're gonna like not win the league or this is a massive blip on their season. I think Liverpool away is always a tough game for any team.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think for me it showed more about Liverpool and potentially their ability to bounce back and make something of this season. Where I mean, so far this season I've not really seen them look good in any game apart from a win against Rangers, and Rangers are basically a championship side. So I mean, I think now that Liverpool have something to build on, I know me and Dad were saying it when we were watching the game that there's something that we're both going to have to concede on that I don't think we wanted to, which is that Darwin Nunez looked absolutely shocking when he came on. Like, he had a stinker.
Oh dear. Yeah. I mean, Anthony's words are just echoing all around this house. It's ridiculous. I mean, all right, maybe the modern day Andy Carroll is a little bit harsh, but man, he had some opportunities to put people in and really fluffed it. I mean, the level of greed. If I was his manager, I would be furious. No question. Terrible. Well,
No, I think the difference is, the Mo Salah miss was like he made the right decision. Like the type of it. Okay, maybe he could have thrown a little dummy to sit the keeper down and then dinked it over him. But I'll be honest. Like if you're in that, Jota was square. But like if you're in that position, you don't see the square in it, and like 9 times out of 10 you finish that, and nobody says anything. So I'm not. He could have squared it. I'm not annoyed that he didn't square it. But I think the one for the Nunez ones for me. He just made the wrong decision every single time. Like, just really bad decision making. Whereas Salah was just not great execution, but I'm not going to blame what he tried to do there. Darwin Nunez is just like real football idiocy more than anything.
Absolutely.
Touching on that, going on that game, right, I just wanted to touch on City for a little bit. Because I was looking at their fixtures, their results, sorry. And this is the first difficult away game, in my opinion, that I think they've had. They've encountered like another top 6 competitor, right? and they came up short. And you also got to look at their away performance at Villa of all clubs, drew there, also drew to Newcastle. So potentially, is City's away form something that we need to worry
Well,
about?
winning away
They
games in the
beat
Championship, in the Premier League is tough. You know,
no,
I
it's
thought they
true, but
would have
like
had more trouble winning at West Ham earlier in the season, but clearly,
nah, that's true. But that was the first game of the
yeah,
season. West
clearly
Ham
West
actually had their
Ham,
feet.
they weren't at it
Yeah,
in relation to what they did last year. But normally West Ham give the big teams a good game at their ground.
mm, mm. I'm just saying though, like City, people are saying writing them off, saying they're going to win the league by 20 odd points. Da, 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 da. Are they really? Have they really been that great? Like, yeah, they've been free scoring. Yeah, they've got an unbelievable team. But you look at the results. You look at who they've played. They've not played some real
But
difficult fixtures yet, in
I
my
feel like
opinion.
if you look at the
The only
two games
one
that they've
of note is that they
But
smashed
I feel
United.
like if you look at the two games that they've dropped points in, Liverpool away is arguably the toughest away game they'll play all season.
I agree.
And
I
was it
agree.
Newcastle away? Again, that's
Newcastle
That's going to be
away.
a problem
that's
for everyone.
yeah. I can see all the top six
Yeah, no,
dropping
no.
points in
Listen,
that
I
game.
know more. I know more.
So
That's a
so my
problem. But
point
like,
being that they're not. It's not like they've gone away to like
they drew at Villa.
all right, yeah,
They,
which is
they
not
drew at
which is
Villa,
not
and
a
this is a
great.
Villa that's been playing shocking football
True, but
all
for
season
example,
long.
yeah, if you're losing to, I'm trying to think of who's not great. Even if you, to be honest, if you're losing to Nottingham Forest away, I know they've just come up. It can be, but they're not a great side. If they were losing those types of games, I'd be like, oh, there's something wrong here. But I think to Newcastle away and Liverpool away, you're not going to get many tougher away games than that. So, yeah, I kind of brushed that one off. What was interesting though is I think for the first time this season we saw Haaland look a little bit human. You know,
Yeah, he was a bit
he
out the
was,
game. Like, he didn't
and I
get to.
think he's obviously this is not a comparison of talent, just ways in which they impact the game. I always used to say about Dele Alli, when he doesn't score, he's not going to do anything for you. And obviously, he went on to just now he plays in Turkey. Yeah, he plays in Turkey now. But like, and I think Haaland is, obviously he's always a threat running in behind, and he stretches defenses, which can create space for other players. So I'm not saying that he's absolutely useless when he's not scoring goals, but obviously his main thing, like where he earns his bread, is scoring goals.
Yeah.
And I think you saw
Yeah.
at times today, like the ball gets played into him. He's not like a Gabriel Jesus who's going to get the ball and turn and bring other people in with little flicks and like link up play and all that. That's not really his game. His game is all about scoring goals. And I think it will be interesting to see, as obviously this is his first season playing under Pep, whether he develops that side of his game, like
I was
the
just
sort
going
of
to say that.
yeah,
I was just going
the
to say
link.
that.
I wouldn't be surprised if, say this time next season, you see more of that. That his game has evolved, because it will have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
City can use
But
him as they are at the moment as an out-and-out goal scorer. But even Aguero, when he was there, he had to develop his game.
That's true.
And I can
But he
definitely
had
see
to
that he will
develop
do
his
that.
game. But Aguero had to develop his game more in a pressing sense, where they're always on the ball. I feel like what Haaland is lacking is more or less his hold-up play, and you don't see a lot of typical Guardiola strikers have to hold play with their back to goal so much. The only kind of striker that you would think had a similar kind of build to that would be Lewandowski at times. But even then, I feel like they dominated possession so much, and we were always in the front foot, mainly passing. There was never very rarely the time where they would knock it up long to Lewandowski, and he would have to play his with back to goal and hold off defenders, lay people off, and that.
Yeah.
Although I will say that he was better.
But developing your game means doing whatever you have to do, whatever you're lacking in, or what you're deficient in. So if he needs to, learn to play with his back to goal a bit more, lay people in, improve his touch and laying off and what have you, then that's what he needs to work on.
Yeah.
Well, no, less so Haaland. I'm just saying, I'm maybe throwing a spanner in the Guardiola be able to coach that into a player before? Because we don't see him typically use that style of
But I
striker.
don't think he'll
I mean,
coach Haaland to be a Duncan Ferguson, like backing into defenders and doing that. I think it's more
no, of
having
course
that
not. But
ability
like,
because you have to remember, right? Guardiola's system has in the past featured that false nine role, right? Like David Villa was his striker at Barca, and although he played on the shoulder, like sometimes he would come deep to get on the ball to just like start like attacks and stuff. And obviously Messi's played in that false nine role under him, and like obviously that's his whole game. And I think, well, obviously they're completely different physical builds and types of players to Haaland. But the point I'm trying to make is that perhaps the next evolution of Haaland's game is that he drops deep or deeper just to like help the play tick over, and then he makes that run into the box, like almost like what Harry Kane's doing now,
Yeah.
right? Because Harry Kane didn't have this in his game.
He was so much the ideal striker for them. So much.
Oh yeah, he would have been
I know.
perfect for them.
Absolutely. Ready-made in
club, man.
all different ways.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
I don't think Haaland will necessarily develop that to the level that Harry Kane has. If he does, then we're looking at one of the best players.
Put my
of all
house
time,
to him.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think the next stage to his game is to add some of that. And I think it will just make him. It will probably help him score more goals because it'll make him more difficult to defend. Because eventually people clock on as much as they can to the sort of penalty box danger. But if you can now drop deep and spray passes and bring other players into play, then defenders have more to worry about than just you in the penalty area. So it'll be interesting to see
Yeah.
how he gets on.
Yeah. Just a quick one on the Liverpool City game. Where do you think Liverpool go from here? Because obviously they've had two really good results on the bounce now. Some may say that they've bounced back from the lull they had at the start of the month. So with
I was
Trent out injured,
always of the
and,
belief
a
that they'll
few-
get better and they'll start to climb up the table. And don't want to say that, but it will happen. They will get better as the season
Do you
goes
think
on.
they'll get top four then?
I think they'll push really close because when push comes to shove, they get all their players back. I'd say they're still, probably better than Tottenham and Arsenal.
Chelsea and United.
Yeah, Chelsea
Oh.
and United. No,
All
all of
right.
them.
Yeah, all right.
Because, they've been there and done it. Their only problem is that they're
That's
a
true.
bit behind at the moment and they've got to make up the difference. So they have to hope
Difference.
that the likes of Arsenal and Tottenham drop points. So, yes, they've got some ground to make up, but they're very capable of doing it.
Anthony, you want to have the final words on Liverpool and the future prospects for them this season?
Still think Darwin Nunez will do poorly. I still think Salah is finished. I don't actually hate Liverpool, believe it or not. But I do just think this is the case. I want to tip them for fourth, but something tells me Chelsea might just nick it. So I'm gonna say they finish fifth by like a dog's hair.
A dog's hair.
Like, honestly.
Jesus. Where does this guy come from? Did he grow up in this house?
I had to think.
Jeez.
I had to think of something. Think of something, man.
Anthony's just making up his own phrases now, man.
Yeah, literally. That one was off the cuff.
Yeah. Well, we have midweek Premier League games to look forward to this week. Unfortunately, all the good ones are on Wednesday, which means that me going to football training on Tuesday mean I won't miss any of the good games for once. So this week I'm going to run you lot through the fixtures. Everyone pick out a fixture that they like the look of. Give me a little preview for it, right? So we've got on the Tuesday we've got Brighton versus Notts Forest, and Palace versus Wolves. And then on the Wednesday it was supposed to be Arsenal v City apparently, but that's been postponed.
Yeah, it has. Thank God.
So we've got Bournemouth at home to Southampton, Brentford at home to Chelsea, West London derby, Liverpool at home to West Ham, Newcastle home to Everton, and United at home to Spurs. So go on then, Dad. I'll let you go first. Which of those fixtures sounds interesting to you?
Well, there's a few, but I'm gonna, because I have a little bit more knowledge of it, a West London derby. So Brentford Chelsea, and I absolutely believe the same thing is going to happen as what happened last season, where Chelsea go there and dig out a 1-0 win.
Yeah, definitely a hard.
They'll seek to control possession. Brentford are quite adept against the bigger teams of having a go, but without quite looking as potent as they have been against other teams. And they sort of crowd the penalty box and don't let you get shots off. So I think it'll be a tight game. They'll make it tight, and Chelsea will just nick it.
Okay, I mean, I think West London derby under the lights is always going to be goals for me. But either way, it's a tough game.
I mean, looking at that game, I think it just because it's 7:30 on a Wednesday, I think that might be a draw. I think Chelsea might nick a draw at the very end.
Chelsea will nick a draw.
Yeah, man. I reckon them Brentford fans are going to be up for it, man. And they've got all the way up until they've got until 7:30 to get like 30 beers down, and that place will be rocking by the time it kicks.
So, Brentford fans aren't the rocking type, man. They're, them man will sit in the stand and drink their cup of tea and clap with the little clicker things, man.
Oh no, they're not Fulham fans. Don't worry about it. Fulham fans with their little rattles and stuff.
New Fulham fan started at work, and obviously he's. Hopefully he doesn't watch this, but I find him proper annoying. But he, he started trying to get onto me about, we have the best history, we have the best football ground, the oldest football ground, the Riverside is very iconic. I'm like, bruv, if this is what you're trying to tell me, to say how much you admire your club, and you're talking about some old clubhouse in your stadium, this is what's wrong with Fulham fans, man. You know what I mean? They're not proper football fans.
Yeah, but
no one cares about.
To be honest, what can you say about your club, which puts you above
I
that?
can say that tourists, we don't have a whole end designed for tourists. Do you know what I mean? We get real football fans.
Okay,
there.
And we can always say that we've actually won a trophy. Fulham have never
That's the only
won
thing, though.
a trophy.
That's the only thing.
Yeah, but what else? What else do you want? Like, what do we judge football by?
Yeah, I mean, look, both of us, both teams have been to FA Cup finals. All right, Fulham went to a European Cup final. We haven't.
Yeah.
But they lost. When
unbelievable,
and they've got a very good record against us in recent times. Us being QPR, of course. But historically, come on. I mean, have Fulham ever finished second in the equivalent of the Premier League? No. So, look, everyone has their time in the spotlight, and they're having theirs, relatively speaking, right now. So,
yeah,
good
but
luck to them.
Come on, man, like when you look at teams, right, of that kind of stature. It was like a Fulham, a QPR, Bournemouth, whatever. I feel like, from my point of view anyway, as a football fan that doesn't really get caught up in the goings on of smaller teams, you look at players, you look at great players that they've had, great goals that they've scored, and I feel like Fulham have had a wider array of superstars.
Yeah, but Anthony, you have to.
Like, all you had was adults.
Anthony,
they had man like Van der Sar.
I was going to say, Anthony,
they had man
bro,
like.
This is how we know, that you've been watching football for about 10 years, because like you're thinking like David Seaman, Les Ferdinand, Trevor Sinclair, Stan Bowles. Like these are all historically great players.
Way before my time. I'll give you David Seaman.
Yeah, and I mean, Fulham could say, Johnny Haynes and Cohen, who played in the World Cup team.
Berbatov.
All right, yeah, all of that.
I don't even know if I put Berbatov in there, man. I'm sorry.
I mean, I don't know if Berbatov.
Bruv, I saw him rip you. Look, listen. I was there when he ripped QPR away at Fulham.
Wait, didn't he go to he didn't come like he went Spurs, United, then Fulham, right?
Was it not Fulham United Spurs?
I'm sure.
Ooh, that's a good one.
We'll have to check that. Anyway, we've gone on a little bit of a tangent, but to keep that tangent at least slightly relevant, the game I'm actually going to preview is QPR Cardiff on Wednesday night because there's Championship as well, and we very much neglect the Championship on this show so far. So, QPR Cardiff, obviously QPR just coming off the back of a 3-1 defeat to Luton, but that follows away, yeah. But that follows back-to-back wins against who we beat, Reading and Sheffield United, both of whom, and Bristol City. And so Sheffield United were top at the time and Reading were third at the time. So brilliant wins. Lyndon Dykes scored 2 goals in a game and I was there. I'm definitely going to remember what t-shirt I was wearing on that day. But do you know what? I went into this season looking at QPR and I didn't think on paper we had enough going forward. And whether we do still remains to be seen. I think we do really need a striker, an out-and-out striker who's just going to get us goals. But I've been really impressed. Mainly, Anthony likes to talk that QPR play good football now, which we do. But I think we played decent football under Warburton as well. Maybe not as good as it is now, but still decent football. But what I really love about QPR this season is that Michael Beale the team looks defensively solid now, right? And it doesn't look like we're always vulnerable to counter-attacks or always open at the back or always just like a soft underbelly as a team defensively. And I think now I can look at us playing games like Cardiff at home, which is a little bit of a rivalry. You know, there's not much love between QPR and Cardiff fans. But I'm confident that QPR will get a victory at home to Cardiff, mainly because I know that we've got players like Willock and Chair and even Ethan Laird who can create a little moment and get us a goal when we need it. But defensively, I'm not worried about us conceding multiple goals because I think we look a lot more solid.
What do you think you can keep out the likes of Callum Robinson and Mark Harris?
Yeah, I can't lie. Nothing's Cardiff have done for the last 5 years has scared me, bro. There was one time when Cardiff ever looked formidable to me, and that was the season when we both went up and they had Jay Borthroyd up front. Then them times I was like, whoa, there was a bit of a shootout between us and them, but yeah, I think we've got enough.
I well remember going to that away game. So the history between QPR and Cardiff does go back to the early 2000s when we had to play them in a League One playoff final. And they gave us quite the reception when they won. And, there's been a lot of bitterness since then, especially at the QPR end. And we've had good results against them, home and away. Last season, they beat us at home and we beat them away. I can see... I'm with Curtis on this one. I think QPR tend to win narrow. I can see a narrow win. We've got 2 home games, keep us up in that sort of top 2, top 3. And then, just get a bit more momentum back after the Luton debacle. But yeah, I think, Bill's done a decent job. They probably are a bit short up front. But I mean, where are you going to get a striker to, maybe give you 20 goals or so? That's I'm sure everyone's looking for that. So maybe we can pluck someone out from somewhere. They're well catered for in midfield. All sorts of midfield options now, and it's just getting the right team and using the players, doing good rotations, and making sure you've got a fresh midfield and just hopefully stay clear of any major injuries.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Do you think you'll get playoffs this season?
100%.
No comment. I'm not trying to jinx it.
Oh, at least Dad's getting off the fence.
Man, listen,
at least
man.
someone is.
Not, this last year, I made the mistake of going, playoffs. I'm not trying to jinx it. I went to my first game this season at home to Reading, and we won. So at least I know this year I'm not a bad luck curse. So, yeah, the baby steps, man, baby steps. But we are running over. Sorry, Anthony, you didn't get it. Do you want to do a quick little
No.
45-second
Right.
preview for a
So,
game?
yeah, no, obviously, since these two did a little bit more niche, I'll go for the big game in the midweek. That's United Tottenham. Really quick, I feel like United are becoming a bit of a force at Old Trafford again. So Tottenham will struggle. Of course, they're going to try and sit back, hit them on the counter.
Which is probably the way to
I
beat
see them
United.
Agreed.
which is, well, yeah, at Old Trafford,
Yeah.
yeah. But I don't know. I rate Ten Hag as a manager. I think he'll be able to break down Tottenham a couple times, especially if United score first, which I think they will do. The game will get a little bit more time, so we'll see a few more goals. But I would probably predict like a 2-1.
Okay.
On United. All right. Well,
Well, we're not asking for your predictions anyway.
Speaking of predictions,
yes, so there are predictions again this week. Anthony will give us an update on the league table for our predictions league. Just a note,
right.
there are no midweek games in the predictions league this week. It's only the weekend games. So, Anthony, take us away.
So after last week, Curtis predicted a 2-2 for Brighton. I predicted a 1-1 for Brighton, and so did Dad. We all know Brentford won 2-0, so points on there. No one got any points. Same with Leicester Crystal Palace. Curtis and Dad both predicted 2-1. I went with a 1-1, so I got a point there. With Tottenham Everton, Curtis predicted 2-0. Predicted 3-1 and then changed it to 2-0.
Jammy.
And then got the exact result.
So jammy, honestly.
And got 3 points off that. I also predicted 2-1 Tottenham, so I got a point off that, and Dad went 3-0. United Newcastle, Dad was the only person that predicted it, and got a point off that. And then Liverpool Man City, we all none of us predicted Liverpool win.
Wow.
So that leaves.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
To be fair, Dad, you predicted.
I know, yeah. 2-2.
I'll give you that. So that leaves. Curtis with 3 points this week. Me and Dad with 2. So then when we go to the league table, I believe that means Curtis and I are drawing on 14, and Dad is 3 points behind now with 11.
Shocking.
Slipping away. The gap is forming.
It was 3 last week. It'll be 3 this week.
All right. So what fixtures are we looking at for this week's predictions?
So I think we should all. I'll just say the fixture, and we'll all go around and see what we think the score is. So first fixture, Dad, Nottingham Forest, Liverpool at Nottingham Forest. What are you going with?
3-0 Liverpool.
3-0 Liverpool. Okay. I'm gonna go 3-1 Liverpool.
And I will join you in that 3-1.
Okay. I think Morgan gives Whitewall back.
I don't know if Liverpool will keep a clean sheet away from home. 12:30 game. Forest will be up for it. It's on TV.
Right. This is a real sticky one to predict. Leeds Fulham, Curtis.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Leeds are at home. Fulham have cooled off a bit after a good start to the season, and Leeds played well against Arsenal over the weekend. So I'm gonna say 2-1 Leeds.
2-1 Leeds.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. No, actually, not bad. Go on, your turn.
Oh, I was going to say that, but we can't have the same. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go 1-1.
Yeah, do you know what? I was going to go for a draw as well. So that's going for 1-1. With a 2-1 Leeds. There would definitely be goals in this. See, 1-1 was going to be my guess.
We can't have that.
But, yeah, no. I'll go the 1-0 then.
1-0 who?
1-0 Leeds.
Okay. So we're both back in the Leeds win. Okay.
Right. So, Chelsea United at the bridge. Let me go first on this one. I'm going to say 2 or 3. I'll say 2-1 Chelsea.
Yes.
Actually, no. 2-2. 2-2.
See,
Desmond.
it's jarring, bro. I was going to take the 2-2. But in that case,
Yeah.
I'm now going to go 2-1 United. I think
2-1 United.
Potter's going to play into United's hands, man. He's going to really try and dominate the
That
game.
counter.
And I think there's going to be space. And Koulibaly and Thiago Silva don't like space. So, yeah.
Do you know what? I was going to do that.
And no
I was
Reece
going to do
James.
that. But I'm actually going to go 2-1
Reece-
Chelsea.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know where they're going to score
Just
them goals.
remember, no
from,
Reece
but,
James. No Reece James. Who do they get right
Yeah,
back?
what a big problem for England as well.
Yeah.
Big
Well, I
problem.
don't think it's as big of a problem for
Yeah,
England,
there's
to
no
be
Kyle
honest.
Walker as well. You have to remember that.
Yeah, but we got Ben White.
Isn't he a centre half?
Yeah, he plays like right centre back.
I only got roasted at least today.
Yeah, look. Not roasted though. It weren't roasted, but he didn't have a great game.
All right, go on, Anthony. Take us home. Last 2 fixtures.
Right. Southampton Arsenal. I'm gonna go 1-1 because Arsenal never ever do well at Southampton.
This is Arsenal's time to beat Southampton. I'm going to
It's our
go
bogey team, man. It's our bogey team.
3-1 Arsenal.
3-1 Arsenal.
And I'm going to take a 2-1 Arsenal.
2-1. Okay. One said something different. We all believe Southampton will score though, which is troubling. The only thing that gives me hope for that is the fact that we've kept a lot of clean sheets away from home this season. And finally, Tottenham Newcastle. What are we saying, boys? Curtis, you can start off.
Oh, that's a toughie. But do you know what? I don't want to bet against Conte. It's at Newcastle, right?
Yeah. No, it's at Shout Lane.
Comfortable then. I'm saying 2-1 Spurs.
1-0, 2-0.
Yeah, I would. You know what? I was gonna say 1-0, but I don't really like betting on 1-0s, man. It's a bit of a
2-1. Yeah.
Take a 2-1 Spurs.
Cool. Dad.
1-0 Spurs.
Oh, you bitch.
After Curtis done saying he don't want a 2 or 1-0, I'm thinking, you know what? That's exactly what I'm having.
Alright, cool. Do you know what? Then? I'll go 2-0.
Yeah.
Right, so everyone's backing the Spurs win.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Harry Kane. If anyone's gonna give Newcastle a tough game, it will be Harry Kane. So.
Probably score a penalty or something.
Also, I don't feel like Newcastle have the creativity to open up a Spurs.
I do, but set pieces, man. Kieran Trippier set pieces. There's always a shout.
But listen, Spurs. Bro, Spurs got a new set piece coaching, man. They've been dealing with set pieces relatively.
Okay.
All right, well, that's the fixtures.
Yes. So we will give everyone an update on
Yeah.
the changes to the league table in next week's episode. I really want to make sure we finish this under 50 minutes, which is something that we very rarely do. So I'm going to sign off. That is our OG QPR fan, Steve, the gassed up Gooner, Anthony. Thanks again for watching. Tune in next week.